everyone, it's Cindy and welcome back to Studioloo. I am here today with a flip through of my latest journal, The Casquet of Literature. This is an 1895 book that is so beautiful. I got this book at a bookstore, like a vintage antiquity bookstore, and I definitely paid a little more for it than I normally would for a book, but I just fell in love with this golden apples kind of cover. So let's talk about it. Okay, so here's the amazing spine. It's a volume 2 and it's from Blackie & Son Limited, and it's all embossed, the whole entire book. It's so pretty. So I added some gold metal labels up top here just to kind of protect those edges. Then I used gold eyelets for the closure along with the gold seam binding. This is a chunky journal for sure. It has 6 signatures. It's 236 pages. It's about 5 3/4 by 8 1/2 or 8 3/4. So let's jump into it. So the end papers are made from this really beautiful old world style paper. It's meant to look like a vintage wallpaper, and it has the texture as well. And so on both sides I've done the same thing. I've added a pocket. I've kept both sides the same. So inside the front pocket, I've added one of my document holders here that I've been making as part of Roxy's weekly challenge. This is Shabby Dabby Doodah paper, and I've added a Victorian invitation kind of on the front. So then we open this on up, and inside there's some folder paper, a page from a vintage garden book, some grid paper. This is a beautiful old illustration of corn, and this is some pattern paper for like embroidery. And so that whole thing just kind of folds up, and then we have like a braided paper circle here that you close it up with. You just kind of wind the jute back around the twine, and that just pops in here. Oh, and actually I remember now. Hold on one second. It can wrap around twice. There we go. So it's not super long before I put it back in. I would be like, why is it so long? Why is it everywhere? Let me just pull it through here. There we go. That's better. Then page 1 opens up. This is a lovely vintage photograph that was in an art magazine, and I've added a butterfly. This is beautiful floral paper, and one of my handmade button cards with some vintage buttons. On this side, it's the back side of that beautiful paper, and this is a handmade postcard that I made. Coffee dyed paper. I've used these vintage documents or antique documents from Roxy's Creations on Etsy, and I've stitched some peppermint colored lace down the side, printed those documents both sides. My yellow hand dyed paper. This is a collage pocket and a collage tab that I made. This is a tag from a vintage ladies magazine for Elegant Stay Up Top, and it says, "At last the plant flowered." And on this side of this lovely blue paper, this is a vintage ad for the Smoke Letterbox cigars. This is an authentic ledger of children's attendance in school, and it flips out because I wanted to keep the whole paper intact. And then this is another kit that I used in here of floral ledgers from Digital Fit on Etsy, and some tea-dyed paper. This is a scrapbook paper sparkling pocket. You'll also see lots of this art from Trisha Romance, who she just creates these beautiful like scenes, and I think paints really amazing houses and indoor and outdoor scenes, domestic scenes. So this is like a mom putting away towels in this beautiful bathroom with this little one trying to climb into a clawfoot tub. This is a tag made from a beautiful old scrapbook. It was in 1856. It was a ledger book that in 1920 a lady turned it into her scrapbook by starting to glue things into it. So this is one of the things she glued in from an old newspaper. This is a little girl holding a cat with some straw coming down here to this little lamb. And it's all authentic, including that pink paper backing. This is a beautiful image from Trisha Romance and the magic of her work. The Owl and the Pussycat store, fine toys, collectibles, stationery, and books. Don't you just want to go in there? I feel like so entranced by her work. And then a little pocket here that's been collaged and more of Trisha Romance. This is from an old postcard book cover. It's this little vintage lady in a rainbow bubble. And then this is a little LePage glue ad where this man used LePage's liquid glue in the wrong place. Hold on, it's no use pulling. I'm stuck with LePage's glue. Tea-dyed paper, the floral ledger. This is a belly band I collaged from a vintage bird book, and I've added this doll postcard here. This journal has like a romantic theme, kind of. Also a theme maybe of like, you know, like a vintage childhood nostalgia kind of. You'll see what I mean as we go through, like maybe the memories of a child. With this, again, this 1935 attendance ledger. So these are all the names of the pupils and the days that they, you know, were at school. Or this is a collage pocket made from that old scrapbook as well. So this is like a napkin with a leaf on it that was in that scrapbook, and you can actually see some of the ledger writing too. And inside I made this journal card with the dictionary definition of vintage on some vintage wallpaper. On this side, this was an old image. It was inside an art book, and someone just kind of, you know, scanned it and put it in there, so I made a pocket. And then this, I forget who created this digital. It's part of a collection, and I just added this image to this handmade paper. Some of my hand-dyed yellow paper, more of Roxy's Creations vintage documents, coffee-dyed paper, more of that floral scrapbook paper. It's so pretty. And then I made this wraparound journal card, and I made it from an old Yellow Pages page, and I added some labels, some of my Wild Weeds digitals, and some book page labels, and just had fun with it. It turned into a really fun journal card. This is a little pocket that I cut from a vintage ladies magazine, and it was about basically fabrics that you would buy to make dresses. This is a beautiful rosy scrapbook paper. This was cut from an art magazine, and it is the coolest ad ever. It is from Steiff Toys. If you're not familiar with the German toy manufacturer Steiff, they made these incredible like mohair bears and all different animals. So this is a bunch of men, and they're all holding their weight in kilograms on these little black cards. And underneath them is this bowing piece of wood, and it's on the back of a donkey and a horse on wheels, on metal wheels, and these were like Steiff toys, so they're holding the weight of all of these men. So it's like an ad about the quality of their toys. This side we have a shaker card. I don't want to make you dizzy by shaking it too much. So there are some little flowers and sequins in here, and this little girl swinging on a swing, and she's just looking upward at the sky, and you can see some fields and houses behind her, and it's on the back of some folder paper. This is coffee dyed paper with a lady with one of those coiled belt type corsets. And here we have the bride of the bride and groom. I forget this. It's Bruegel, right? I forget this painting. This is a master's painting, and I just used the image as part of this collage belly band. And it is on an original antique book page from this book, and it has the verse "To the Lady of My Heart" here by William Motherwell. And I've done this lovely Trisha Motherwell, oh goodness, Trisha Romance postcard, or not postcard, journal card. And look how magical this room is with this like, you know, wooden ladder that goes up to this like loft style bed with this cozy quilt. And there's underneath it like probably a little powder room and a bookshelf. It's like, I love her depiction of these old wooden type houses with good bones, you know, it's so nice. And then another belly band that I collaged. This is a label from the Paper Cameo on Etsy. This is Tim Holt's doll. And I've added this Rococo art from a book here to make a journal card. And it's on the original book page about the means to attain happy life. This is another of the vintage documents from Roxy's Creations with some peachy lace down the side. Some of my hand-dyed paper, this fun copper paper scrap. This is a pocket I made with a sticker page covered in deli papers with a fairy. We have an Amity Bloom tab there, and this paper is actually a Victorian jewelry book. It's really pretty. This is an image of a flower from that old 1920 scrapbook on a collaged tag. I jelly printed some numbers on the back. More of that beautiful jewelry book, coffee dyed paper, more of the attendance ledger for children, another Trisha Romance image, this time of a farm, and then one of her beautiful stone cottages. Don't you just want to go in there? It looks so warm. It's lovely. Another farm and more of the attendants, coffee dyed paper, the Victorian jewelry. This is a collage pocket I made with an old quilt book and some sunflowers there. This is one of my audience cards of this lovely old actress, and it's on handmade paper. It's a lightweight card. This is a little rose pocket with this little Fleischmann's yeast ad in here. Don't look in papers if you want light bread, but ask your grocer for Fleischmann's yeast. Just a fun little scrap paper. More of my hand-dyed paper and the Roxy's Creations vintage documents. These are in Italian, and this is from 1868. This is a wrap-around pocket made with Paper Cameo paper on an original antique book page about education through the senses, and I've collaged a bit on it. So here we have an authentic cabinet card of this little girl. And on this side we have this beautiful piece of 49 and Market paper. I just love this Curator's paper series. I love using these in my journals. Coffee dyed paper, some really pretty scrapbook paper, and this was made from an old farmer's calendar, 1800 to 2050. And it's writing space on the back, and I just collaged with some flowers on the lovely old paper. This is just a beautiful, like, sort of textile studio that has two busts here. One has vintage photos all over it. The other has what looks like a very old textile kind of being reconstructed. I collaged with some numbers and some vintage photo album with the little slots in it. And then I slotted lace through here, which I stitched on. It's a tip out, and you can see more of the floral ledger. Writing space from the back of an old book page, and then this is a handmade postcard that I made, this beautiful flower. So it's like a little hidden pocket back there that you have this little postcard in, and that just tips in. This is from that old scrapbook from the 1920s, and there was a whole page on this little white dog with these like far too intelligent captions like written below for this dog. So this one says, "I begin to suspect I am among friends." And you'll see more of him a little later. This is a little booklet that I made, a little notepad with just some fun papers. Coffee dyed paper. This was from a vintage notepad. This is an original antique page from the book. Huldy makes tea for the minister. And then we have a spool cotton ad over here. Another of the vintage, antique book pages. Those images are like the glued on fly page to the folio. We have a wraparound pocket here that I did some collaging on with inked paper art paper, and in here, this is one of 2 of these old Ivanhoe ads. So this one's really cute. This is a lady looking at her reflection in this hoe, and it says, beyond, yes, an Ivanhoe. Beyond a question is the farmer's idea of perfection, simply superb, made only by Withington, and Cooley Manufacturing Co., Jackson, Michigan. Manufacturing. No, Michigan. Okay, sorry. A little fairy here. Then this is the original antique book page. It says The Minister's Housekeeper. This is from the Trisha Romance book, and it's like a tire swing in the winter time, and I've added some fabrics and lace up top, and this is on back, which you can actually write over. It's quite light. Coffee dyed paper with pink lace. There's the husband of the couple there, and inside the belly band we have this old postcard, and it's called Crossing the Brook by the Uruguayan painter E. Casals Capurro. And this is from Dr. H.T. Yost being sent to another doctor, and while he's in Montevideo in 1956, and it has been typewritten. Some old yellow writing paper. This is a fly page from a book that I added to the back of this beautiful brick house by Trisha Romance. Some of my dyed paper. This is from the Victorian jewelry book. All these neck chains. More of my dyed paper and more Trisha Romance. This is a Rococo playing card. This is from a turn of the century book. It's a book plate that I kept. The rest of the book, I think I only used the cover. The rest of the book didn't have anything in it that was of use. It's so beautiful though. It's like this guy tipping his hat, like taking his hat off. He has an umbrella on the ground, and there's like a cow, but it has horns, so it's clearly a bull over this stone fence. And he's like trying to talk to it, and the lady is like, okay, let's not get gored, let's get out of here. So it's really quite comical. More of the yellow dyed paper. And a collage pocket here. This has one of those household ledger kind of pages on it. Government offices and agencies, grocery stores, garden shops and nurseries, gourmet shops and delicatessens. So like all the things you'd want to document in a household. This is the common tiger butterfly. It's a little cutout from a 49 market sheet of paper. Some peony washi tape on this coffee dyed paper. This is a wrap around the page pocket with these eyes from a vintage magazine. And this is about Cumnor Hall. It's from the original antique book. And this is a journal card I made from that 1920s scrapbook of this little girl. And on the back, this is a vintage ad for this Waldorf Astoria style coach. The other side of that, old notebook paper, some coffee dyed paper, more of the floral ledger. This is one of the illustrations from the original book. Eppie was cheerfully using her boot as a bucket. And there's our dog friend again. This one says, finding I am required to sit in a tub, I adopt the philosophy of Diogenes and try to make the best of rather a dull job. And it's on one of the original books, book pages. And then I've added a wrap around the page pocket here from the Silhouette newspaper from 1981. This page has coins on it and a Louisa Heinzel lady tab that's double-sided. More of my hand-dyed paper. This is from a vintage stamp collector's album. This is a jelly print flip out on tea-dyed paper. A Trisha Romance barn on both sides actually, and more of that stamp paper. This is a scrapbook paper made to look like old sewing pattern paper, and I've added some lace down the side. This is just a lovely gold digital page. I can't remember where it came from. More of that stamp book and more of the Trisha Romance barns. coffee dyed paper, stamp page, and yellow dyed paper that I've dyed. And the coin page, this is from the original book, Paradise and the Peri, and we have lots of verse here. And there's a quill pen that wraps around. This talks about the grapes and thorns. This is another Trisha Romance page with a stone cottage here. Coffee dyed paper. This is a vintage envelope, not vellum, but like vellum. Is it vellum? Can't remember. And then I've added a rose there, and inside there's this old ad for the Chicago air rifle, and it's sold by tag, but it's so pretty with the flowers. You know, I'm a meek heart who doesn't like weaponry, but I had to put it in there because it's just a really pretty ad. More of the floral ledger with some peach lace and yellow hand-dyed paper. This is an altered paper clip on the Roxy's Creation documents with a Louisa Heinzel tag on this side, and I forget where this came from. I think from a scrapbook paper pad. And then this is the original book plate of this book, The Casket of Literature from 1895. A collection of prose and poetry, the works of the most admired authors. And I fussy cut this old image of this lady from an old book, and I kept the seal from the book and added it as the backing for this. So it's like a big journal card. Kind of a special part of the journal. Coffee dyed paper, some nice scrapbook paper. This is a fabric flip made with the most beautiful embroidered sari silk or sari fabric and some organza. Just some little secret space under here for you to write. A gold doily. More dyed paper and the vintage documents. More dyed paper and the floral ledger. A little stopwatch on the coffee dyed paper. More Trisha Romance. We have a little boy hoisting a little girl to look in this barn window. Another barn here, and we have an old Mustard Plasters ad up there. This is from the original book, Lilio Meets the Marquise Secretly at Midnight. And this is a pocket collage with washi tape, with peonies, a Tim Holtz paper doll, and the backing of this is actually typewritten, and it's from an old Mennonite church like newsletter, and the book page is about the Marquise. I fussy cut another one of these dolls out from an old book, added roses and stopwatches and some fabric, and it's jelly printed on. Journal tag. This is a Champion lamp side tuck with this image. This is from the old scrapbook. It's a journal card, and I attached some lace, a sweet little girl. This is some shorthand writing paper, a piece of scrapbook paper that had old postcards on it, and some strawberry washi tape. This moth on coffee dyed paper, Amity Bloom tab on yellow hand dyed paper. This is a digital page. Over here we have the Rising Sun stove polish ad, and this is about the modern Cinderella looking at her her visage in the shining stove. And then this is an original piece of ephemera of Mary Coley Slack's graduation from high school. She was 17, and this was in 1948. Coffee dyed paper with some pink lace. Another Trisha Romance, lovely painting of like these little footsteps in the snow taking the laundry outside. And this is such a cute page of Trisha Romance writing, "Through the eyes of a child. From the time Nathan was a newborn, I would walk down this lane from the house to the barn every day, pointing new things out to him. Before I knew it, he was pointing things out to me through the eyes of a child." And then the lovely quilts hanging here on the line. Coffee dyed paper, that lovely gold digital. More dyed papers, some daisy washi tape. More of those vintage postcards and the short handwriting paper. This is another of those hoe ads, and it says, "Tickle the earth with a hoe and it will laugh with a harvest." and it's a really cool image. And then it's on the chapter, The Two Drovers, from the original antique book. And then this is a greeting card that I made. It's got some of that really old book spine on it that has like the back side of a printed page. This is one of my Sweet Pea paper dolls, and it says, "I want adventure in the great wide somewhere." And that little quote is actually from one of the new word collections that Release the Craftin has just put on her Etsy. This is a Rococo playing card. And this is a vintage ad of these beautiful linen and gingham dresses. It's a journal card. And at the back, same paper, and you'll see I've used eco-printed cotton to kind of back the spine. And in here we have this lovely old Union Station Ottawa postcard. This is authentic. It is written on. And she's in Ottawa, and she's sending this to Nova Scotia to her mother. "Dear Mother, notice my new address. Here is where we are going to live. Hal has a new position here in St. Luke's Hospital. Better pay and prospects than in Montreal. We're taking a little apartment and are very busy getting settled. We'll write a letter all about my trip to New York. Please send a parcel post my box of fancy work something." Yeah, it's cool. So anyhow, that's the end of this journal, and this is a chunky journal. So if you're interested in this journal, you'll find it shortly in my Etsy. If you're seeing this video, it's there. And yeah, I will talk to you all again very soon. I hope you enjoyed this flip through. I really love this book. I just think that it really inspired kind of a nice feel. It's a very warm, sweet kind of book. So I hope you're all having a great day, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.